One, two, three, four. Pedagogy a go-go. Pedagogy go-go-go. Hello and welcome to Pedagogy a Go-Go, a podcast about how we engage with learning and why. This is Season 6, Episode 1, Nothing is Perfect or Complete with Dr. Marshall Miller, and we are your hosts, Kelly Allen and Gina Turner. Hello, Kelly Allen.
Hey, Gina. Season 6. Holy crow.
I know.
Where does the time go?
Sunrise, sunset, right?
I guess. Man.
It's exciting. We're together. The band is back together.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's your semester going?
It's going really fast, actually. I can't believe we've just finished fall break, and my students are, starting to get that slight hint of exhaustion and panic in the backs of their eyes a little bit. We were talking about their final project today, and they were like, "Oh, right." How about you?
Yeah, same. So I do this thing where when we come back from a break, I kind of reprint the second half of our calendar, and then I make some notes. It's like, so here's the labor involved between now and the end, and just I hand that out, and we just kind of talk it over. It's like, so if you felt that the first half went fast, the second half is just going to be a streak of lightning, because there's going to be another break in there with the Thanksgiving holiday, and it's just I just tell them, brace yourself.
Yeah, that's really smart to do, to hand it back out, make it real for them. Yeah. I pull it up on the screen, and I just look at the schedule. This is where we're at. So, but other than that, it's my favorite month of my favorite season. So there's that.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
I just love fall. I mean, I'm kind of a nerd, so I actually always liked going back to school. And then, and this is the weather that I prefer. Even the rainy fall days just soothe my soul. So, yeah.
I feel smarter this time of the year.
Yeah, your brain's fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
No, I like
but
it.
Anywho, so before we get into this, I need help from you all on. I need a new word. So as you both know, I've kind of transitioned from a role that was primarily administrative to now I'm teaching full time, and it working with just a whole bunch of students all at once has been awesome. And I just forgot how, and here's the word, I forgot how goofy they are. And when I say goofy, I mean goofy in just in all the best ways. So I'm thinking about, my son who is 14 years old, and he's growing into this little man body, and just watching him just flop around everywhere. It's just it's goofy. And I feel like our students, at least at the community college, are like that as well. They've got a full-time course load, full-time workload. Generally, they commute all the time, and they have families that they're caring for. Either it's their own, or it's their parents, or other siblings. They got so much going on, and it's and in juggling all of that, they end up just doing these delightfully goofy things.
It's almost like the filters. They don't have the energy for filters, because their energy is keeping all of these other balls in the air.
Yes.
A little bit. My friend and I were over at his friend's house, and she has a 4-year-old. And at one point, the 4-year-old was lying on her back, singing a song, spinning in a circle. And we were just why can't we do that now? And then we came up with a theory that's why we age, is because we spend all this energy preventing ourselves from lying on the floor singing and spinning in a circle and being goofy. And that's what actually ages the edges of our chromosomes. That's why our telomeres shrink. But so I think there's something about a student mindset. Goofy is a good word, but it's almost like there's an unhinged freedom, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
then I'm going to keep using it, because I ran into our provost in the parking lot, and it's the first time that I'd had a chance to like say even like 2 words to him since the semester started. And I asked him how his semester was going, and then he asked me, and he was like, "Yeah, and you're back in the classroom. How's it going?" It's like, "I love it, and our students are so goofy." And he's like, "I've never heard someone use that word to talk about students before." And I was like, "Oh, really? Is that wrong? Should I use something different?" But no, maybe it lands well.
I like it personally, but I embrace the word goofy for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to live forever because I've never quite managed to achieve adulthood. I don't know, knock wood.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you for that moment of kind of like solipsistic attention. But all right, thank you.
You are very welcome. And I think we're excited for maybe goofy times with our guest today.
Yes. Like I got to admit, like I'm a little like nervous because it's like, okay, we're talking with a computer science faculty, and it's like I don't get to hang out with computer science faculty all that often, and it's like I don't know if it's like intimidation or like I'm like, damn, I hope that we're like going to be entertaining. Like,
yeah. Like, or is the paradigm too different? From our little arts and humanities and social sciences brains. Like, is the paradigm going to be? Are we going to be able to even communicate with each other?
Yes.
Well, I know we will be able to communicate with Dr. Marshall Miller. And Marshall is Assistant Professor of Computer Science and Information Science, which I don't know why those are listed separately, and maybe we'll find out why.
Well, I hope so. If I don't remember to ask, you have to remember to ask.
Okay.
Deal.
If you had just one word to describe yourself as a teacher, what would it be?
Same as this. Do you listen to podcasts?
I do.
Oh, what do you listen to?
The nerdiest things you can imagine. There's ones about keyboards. There's one about file systems. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Well, talk to me about file systems.
Well, it's in one of my examples, but there are different ways. Like, probably back in, 10 years ago, when you plugged in, like, a flash drive in your computer, sometimes it would say, like, needs to format or something like that. And that's because different computer systems use different file systems, which just means that they store information differently. So it's how they organize the data onto them. That's largely gone because Microsoft and Apple have kind of agreed to use this one called Extended 4. And so that kind of just works for everything. So most of them are just formatted to that. But they're very interesting. There's some really advanced ones, some that are automatically duplicated multiple times, some that you can send an entire computer over to another one over the internet real quick. Lots of duplications.
Wow.
I know. I guess I can check that off of favorite topics to cover. Well, now we've already gotten to file systems.
It's funny, like, so my relationship with technology has always been like, I'm going to get the best, fastest, most storagey kind of whatever processing device that's out there. And of course I have sticker shock and then I don't. But then I think, well, wait a minute now. I type documents and I watch YouTube. I don't need all of that stuff because I don't know how to use it. So like when you're talking about like Elemental P4 things like when you're talking about file systems, I was like, oh, sweet. Is he going to teach me how to organize my Google Drive?
That was where my mind went.
It is a hot mess, but
we call that the file, architecture, I guess.
So or is hierarchy. There anything from the file systems work that you were just talking about that could influence the strategies that we have for the file thing that I just talked about, the file hierarchy?
Yes.
Sweet.
But it might not keep you more organized. It's just you would never have multiple copies of them.
that helps.
Some of them, even if you have 2 copies of the same file in 2 different folders, it's actually just using one memory address. So it affects it, but it's not going to help you. I'm sorry.
It's good to know that at least there is nothing that I'm missing.
On the file system front.
Other than my own ability to organize myself. But I'm gonna sort of start jumping in because this is actually really cool because you've already expressed that you have a real passion for what you just termed nerdy, but like for computing, right? For all of these aspects of computing. So do you like teaching that? Is that something you enjoy teaching to other people? It seems like you do because you're giving Kelly this, this rundown.
If people ask questions, no, I mean, honestly, people often ask me just like, oh, why are you teaching? You can make and it's a fair argument. You can make money at like this software company or something like that. And honestly, I mean, my response is always the same. I can do that on the side if I want to, and I do. For fun, I can make whatever project I want. But now I just get to tell other people about the cool stuff, and they have to listen to me. I mean, they got to sit and listen about file systems, and I'm really excited about it. And if they pretend to care too, that's even great. And I think sometimes they do, and then they go on and they tell other people about how cool file systems are. And then hopefully down the line, that's their career too.
That's awesome.
But you'd have to do that, you would have to enjoy the relationship of teaching and learning somehow, because if not, like students are in working with students it's a complicated practice. It's not a one size fits all, no matter how much someone would try when you're engaging in the learning process with them. So there has to be some element of love and hopefully joy in that. So,
I mean, I certainly do. I think people who have been around me enough are sick of my constant sharing of certain things. But there's just, in my mind, there's so much that's great about evolution of computing. Not even, now we say computers and we're thinking about, the machine we type on with the keyboard and like this laptop in front of me. But I mean, the process of computing is ancient in society, and I think it's amazing to watch, just to even like document how humanity has figured out ways to process information that they can't naturally in their brain. And so almost everything I see in my mind is like, oh, I wonder how that relates to this. And I don't know. Yeah, I can't help but love it.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of the movie Hidden Figures, where they are called computers. Like that term actually referred to the women in that case who were calculating by hand, fundamentally, the calculations necessary for the space program. But the people were called computers. I just really dug that.
You have now you guys have taken 2 of my talking points off of it.
Oh!
No, it's more than fine. That just means I can ramble about something else now. But no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's really, I've been lucky enough this semester that we got to finally start an honors section of Computer Science 1.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of the stuff we did, pre-fall break, which is everything up to this point, we did a lot of historical perspectives of computing. And then after it, we said, okay, well, we'll get into some of like the more groundbreaking things that are currently happening. But yeah, I love to talk about, how like, I mean, women especially were just so crucial. And it all... Well, I don't know. Do we just keep going down this path?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so you mentioned you're teaching an honor section of computer science. What else are you teaching? What's your regular classes that you teach?
That is almost impossible to answer. I teach what someone else can. So whatever we can't find to teach, that's what I teach. I came here at a very strange time. For the computer science department. We lost Ann Richards, unfortunately. And Norm Lippincott retired soon after that. We didn't lose Ken Krause to COVID in the traditional sense. He left because he didn't really want to adapt to COVID teaching. So it was pretty bare at some points. And the skill set you need to teach all of computer science is usually pretty specialized. Like Norm is really great with some of the older technologies. He was there and working in the industry. When you hear about some of the languages that we were teaching, like COBOL or Fortran, like he was there. That's what he did for his profession. And so, like the historical ones, he usually does a lot more of. But it is hard to find someone who's that well-rounded. But for the most part, I know the structure of most programming languages, kind of depending on what they are, it's easier to adapt. Like once you know one, you kind of start to get the picture. So I kind of just plug and play. But anything, it's limited to computer science and web development.
Okay.
But it could be like, I don't know, one of 14 classes. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I consistently teach computer science 1 because I really like it. And it's an extremely important one. To your point, that's the one where I have to instill the love of computer science into people because it's really easy to quit. And not that other people can't do that. I mean, but it is kind of personal to me if I find like that our majors are coming in and not even just struggling, but don't have that because it is, I mean, it was a hot job for, a long time, but it really is kind of like a thing of passion. Our own Jeff was a giant quitter when it came to computer science. But I know, right?
Damn.
Shots fired already.
Called out.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not like the most shiny or attractive major. It's not IT either. The cybersecurity is in networking that get a lot of advertisement. But yeah, I really like it.
Well, was there an experience that you had as a student that made you not a quitter, like some people in the room?
Oh, wow.
I love you, Jeff, by the way. I'm not going to let these haters hate.
I think I came into this very similarly to how the industry evolved itself, like over the years. So as a kid, I very much like had engineering tendencies, like a lot of Kinects and Legos. I don't know, Tinker Toys. There were some that you could make like circuits and like do like the little low voltage electricity thing. So kind of got into electrical engineering. Went to Radio Shack, bought the like 2-cent pieces of things to make a light bulb go on. And that's really where, the origin of computer science starts, is they're all from electrical engineering really built into that, because before we had screens, computers still used electrical currents to work. So I very much just came in very interested in how things worked. And it kind of just like evolved out of that. I was probably very lucky in the time that I came up, in that I had the internet from a pretty early age, but also not too early that I was entranced by it. Like, websites were there. They weren't like cool or engaging. You wouldn't spend more than 10 minutes on one. You could find information, but it wasn't like, entertainment really. So I liked the architecture aspects. And then, yeah, I don't know. It seems like every road I traveled, there was some aspect of that. So it kind of was like, even bringing me back like to here to do this job, a lot of it was just like, it's hard for me to separate that part of myself. It's mostly just been curiosity.
That's great. So you just have always sort of been a student of this topic, right? Yeah. Broadly, and then focusing in. So, do you disagree, Kelly?
Oh no, I'm just he's got me thinking about a lot of things, because you were, listing some names of former colleagues, but, it just got me thinking about kind of past relationships with kind of not just like the department, but the discipline. So the discipline of computer science. So this is, I don't know if it's intro to computers or whatever. It's something that it's required of all majors, I believe. Is that correct? That everyone has to take that course as part of their degree requirements. And like I remember taking it when I was doing my bachelor's of work, and what we were taught was like, here's how you use Windows 94. It's like, this is what Excel is. You make these things called spreadsheets and like whatever. It was dreadfully dull, but I think I passed it. But we're now living in an age where, like you're talking about, having access to the internet at a relatively young age, like we are immersed in technology. And granted, I don't think that very many people understand how technology works the way that you described earlier with like Lincoln Logs and Legos and Kinects and stuff. But like we're like immersed in this. And so like the conversation that was coming up in the past was like, oh, why do we have this intro to computers class when students are coming in and they already know more than we do, which is false. But like the assumption is that they know more than we do. So like what is it about your relationship with the discipline that kind of might silence the naysayers, if you will, but then also like that thing that you're talking about, like, generating curiosity with students and making sure that they don't quit. And I'm assuming that you're not just talking about computer science majors, but, just like our general whatever classes. I don't know if there's a question in there. Usually Gina saves me at this point. She's like, "Oh, Kelly, I think what you're talking about now is." But
I think I got you.
All right, thank God.
So this is actually. Unfortunately, I think anyone who's met me knows this. I'm a very bad liar, so I just tend to tell the truth. I'm also one of those naysayers about it's CISC 101. That everyone has to take.
Well, then let's squash it, man.
Well, listen, I'm working on it. One of the things is it's a requirement for transfers for everyone, and it teaches basically it actually specifically specifies that it has to be the Microsoft Office suite. So they learn all of the Office tools, including Access. So that explains why transfer students have to take it. My beef for it now is the other reason everyone else takes it is because it is right now it is our only course for non-computer science majors that qualifies as what's it called? A technology.
Oh, the Gen Ed requirement.
The Gen Ed requirement.
Yeah. So our for transfer students, there's a list of competencies, skills that they all need to graduate with. So computer science, intro to, what is it called now?
I think it's called Intro to Information Systems.
Yeah.
Or maybe Information Technology now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that fulfills that.
Yeah, sadly, I'm a monster and don't teach that class. So that's not one I instill my love in. And I
like you even more.
It does bother me a lot, and I have a lot of things trying to at least offer an alternative. We're not there yet. Sadly, there's a lot of things that I'm trying to change all at once. That's never fun. So
good luck with that.
Okay, so I just want to go there and ask you, what would you do instead of? So in the current CISC 101, you're learning all the Microsoft apps, including Access, which no one uses anymore. So how would you reinvent, and you don't have to drill down at a granular level, but what would be the big learning outcome that you would want to replace?
So I'd actually love to do, and I think I can make it work, current issues and trends in computing or in technology even. We actually had the cluster. I don't want to say has the ability, like we're all powerful, but we can substitute and designate anything to qualify as that technology competency. And I think as long as we organize it right, the course outlines are done properly, we go through curriculum, it can be done. But I feel like that the nice thing about those courses is obviously technology moves fast. So right now there's going to be a section on AI. It's certainly a current issue, an event in there. That doesn't mean we're going to, it's not going to be a fully AI class, which I would probably not enjoy. And Jeff has, again, experienced me, and I start in the 1970s, so no one really loves my AI talks. But I think that would be adaptable enough, and we could reach all of them, and I think it would be much more enjoyable, so people understand that, like, the computer isn't just, like, this tool that we do mundane tasks on, that we offload things onto, but like this is kind of this is where we are right now in information sharing as humanity, and that may not always be true.
Well, yeah, because like you were earlier talking about like what's great about computers in that it's they do things that our brains or maybe our bodies as well can't just naturally do on their own. So now that we are living in this just hyper like technologically complex society, in what way can we like use computers not just as as modes of kind of like survival, but like ways of kind of like engaging with the world in like these new and like joyful, creative ways?
I mean, it's making me think of two things. One of them is we live with computers like we live with air right now, right? So we take them completely
That is awesome.
Well, we take it completely for granted, right? And even in the sense that if suddenly someone sucked the air out of the room, then of course we would care. Just like if someone steals our phone, right? Suddenly we would be panic stricken, right? So, but we take it for granted. And so the other, I'm about to police myself, but I'm not going to. I almost want a critical computing theory is kind of what you're talking about, which is looking at the systems that being aware of the systems around us and how we ended up with this incredible amount of computing power in our pocket that we take for granted. I mean, that feels so powerful to be in a class that everyone has to take.
Yeah, and I think that's part of my general philosophy too. I mean, as I described it as something that, we can't do, I try to make sure not to use technologies for things that I can do. So right. I don't, there's certainly in math and certain things, I mean, anytime you want to display something on a screen, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to need to do some PowerPoint presentations at some point, or my reviews probably aren't going to be great. But I think a lot of it is I don't want to replace, not myself, like just in the, we talk about like the jobs of that, but even just like the function of myself. I very much like to, I like to know the full history. I think that's the one thing my students, that's the one plus I'll give myself. I give a thorough explanation of the history and why something is the way it is. So if there's something that seems weird, I'll be like, so in 1985 there was this program, and this is like, and I'll explain its journey. And it's like it's just carry over from that, and it might not make sense, but at least cool. You'll know why it happened. And I think that's very much how I try to operate with technology. That's why, when I walked in, I saw these wires. I was like, we're having a conversation. This doesn't seem like what conversations do. Obviously, we need this to have the broader dissemination of what we're doing. I guess this is how podcasts works. I'm not producer Jeff over there, but
Well, what you just said. So last week I went into my class. I'm teaching research methods this semester, and my flash drive wouldn't format, funnily enough. And apparently it just is. Maybe I should give it to you, and maybe you can make it work again. But I couldn't get any of my slides, so the class was stuck with me and a whiteboard and a dry erase marker. and we were fine. So it was one of those moments where it's like, I'm so dependent on my PowerPoint slides, but I don't need to be that dependent on technology necessarily. I mean, I know what I want to tell them, and I have my notes, and I can write things on the board and make them, participate. So it just made me think of that. But I guess I'm going to bring it back to one of our specific questions, because you already talked about one of the things you would give yourself high marks on in the classroom is your ability to kind of give the historical context. So did you think of a word that you would use to describe yourself as a teacher?
I thought of 3 words. The first one I felt was like mess. It feels like that because I do go, I mean, obviously I have the outline and make sure I cover the content that needs to be covered, but at the same time, I don't think anyone would go into a room knowing just how much we're going to cover or how we're going to get to where we are, including myself. So that's the one. But I would say probably like iterative would be the one that I use most. It's a big concept in computer science too, that nothing is ever perfect or complete, and it requires maintenance, so updates to my syllabus and this. And then I value feedback from the students above all. First 10, 15 minutes of every class is like, hey, did anything throw anyone off in the homework? Was there like a question on the test that you feel like you got right? Like, we very much gather the feedback to, make a change. And sometimes I can't change it for them. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, next year I have to do this. Mm-hmm. But I do think the students very much respect that. I don't think anyone ever has told me something and felt like I didn't take action on that. Whatever the action may be, they'll get an apology if necessary, or an explanation, or it will lead to an office hour section where we walk further in it. But I do think that's probably it, as far as like my style. And I try to do that for them too. Even like homework assignments, one of the things I do is we do some of it in class together, some of the coding, but for this, the second half, I usually do hybrid sections, and they have an assignment to do on their own, and they're actually, I let them use whatever they want. They can use the textbook, they can use the internet. I just told them don't work with each other because I need everyone to struggle through this. And it sounds mean, but what we've done is essentially I've set up a system where they submit their code, and it will give them feedback and tell them, hey, there's this kind of error. And it doesn't tell them how to fix it, but it tells them what kind of error it is. So the goal is that they keep submitting it until they get it right. And then that's like my grading policy. It's like, I don't care how many times you submit. I have some people submit 20 times, but then they get it right. And so, they get it. I don't mind as long as it's there by the due date, and I actually highly encourage them to do it. Because that feels like, I don't know, well, one, it feels like computer science to me, but that also feels like learning to me. Engaging in the flaws every time, and then working on it. And then next time I can catch it that much sooner.
I mean, to me, that sounds fantastic. And what you called mess really sounds to me like responsiveness, right? To what is happening in the present moment in the room. And it ties back into what you said about being iterative, right? You're operating from the feedback that's coming into you. So that sounds, not a lot of people can tolerate that quote unquote mess because they're so worried about jamming through what's on their agenda. Yeah. But to me, that sounds also very much like learning, like the process of learning.
And there's the part though of, thinking of students doing something 20 times and then getting it right. Like there is certainly like a beauty in the, what is that? Just kind of the resilience of a student. Is that the right word I'm looking for? That they just keep doing it and doing it and doing it until they get it right.
Grit.
Sure. Grit. But then my follow-up question that I feel that I would have for that student, and I'm assuming that you've done the same, is like, okay, so what did you learn from that process so that the next time you do it, you're not doing it 20 times. So like where's the knowledge transfer in that kind of engagement with the material?
So I try to integrate that into the next lesson. So when we do it live coding, not to make it seem like I'm a great coder, but no one does it right the first time. So what I do is very much, I will open up literally like Notepad, not like a computer programming program, just open up Notepad and write the code out, and talk through it and narrate it. And I would say, well, sometimes I think too, if I heard that feedback, I'll purposely make that mistake so that it triggers it, and then we'll run the program together. And then I'll be like, that's weird. Or sometimes when you get, the best part is, like when you get to, we're about to get there, like week 5, people are just like, hey, I noticed this. Like as you're going, like everyone is reviewing the code together, and it really becomes a collaborative effort. So the in-class ones, you work together with those people too, and it's just really great to see, like the collaborative effort, and it seems like they do it. I think to your point, it's probably not the best way to assess that direct feedback, but that's why I have to iterate again. Now I have this feedback.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I teach writing, and the way that I approach my first semester writing class is that they're like all of their work is scaffolded. So the very first thing that so I focus on public writing, and the very first thing that they do is an informative essay. So what is this public writing that you have found? And then, but while they're kind of answering that question, they're also engaging with kind of like these basic writing skills. Like, okay, so let's look at sentence structure. Let's look at paragraph development. How well are your paragraphs working together to do thesis statements? So we have like these like list of like maybe 4 or 5 basic questions that we have to ask of our writing in the very beginning. And then when we move on to our next essay, which is shortly after, is the genre analysis. It's like, okay, so here are some new questions, but you're also asking yourself these other previous questions. So, so by the time that we get to our last project, there's like this like very extensive list of things that they need to run through to make sure that they are addressing, so they know that they've written this thing appropriately, like within this academic setting. So it, again, like when I'm hearing you share with us, about these experiences that your students are having with, doing something, over and over, but then you said like on week 5 that they're starting to recognize that, like that's that transfer of knowledge where they've gone through those first basic sets of questions. It might have been kind of dirty and kind of messy, but so long as that, like we're getting these small gains in the beginning, and then that you can kind of like piece them together throughout the semester. I don't know. That's just damn good teaching in my eyes.
Yeah, I think my favorite part is, again, kind of hitting that week 4 is probably where it starts, is they've actually learned the language for the most part, but everything on top of that is a new tool. So each lesson is like, hey, here's a different way to solve a computing problem, because everything's a prompt. And so, some people will be like, oh, is this cumulative? I was like, yeah, because if you don't know week 1 to 3, you're not going to be, your program's not going to even like turn on. Right. So, but they get to make those choices from then on to know kind of which is the best way to do it. And sometimes that's how, we get up in the submission count, is because they're like, they were doing it, they saved their work, and then they're like, oh, you know what? I bet this approach will work better. And so, I really like that as the, oh boy, sorry, Jeff, the class as a whole.
So,
I'm sorry. I think that this, for this episode, the word Jeff has been used more than any previous episode. So if there's any of our audience members out there that like, every time that you hear the word Jeff, take a drink, Please don't try.
This is a good one. No, Jeff's my anchor being in this room.
Oh.
Whenever you need to feel a little bit safe or something like that, when I try to walk into a room in like public, I try to find that person that like chills me out a little bit or I feel more comfortable with, and Jeff happens to be that. So I'm referring to Jeff a lot, but that's probably why.
Jeff is our anchor being.
I was going to say he's my anchor being. So.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be reciprocal. I don't think any of us are Jeff's anchor being, but
where is this going? Holy crap! Okay.
Well, so I'm thinking you must not have students who are able to leave because you are working with each of them to scaffold them throughout the class. But do you ever have a student where you're thinking, I need a different approach with this student? I mean, do you shift the ways in which you'll work with individual students?
So I tend to not let a student fall behind more than a week because the class moves very fast. Mm-hmm. And my rule is like reviewing what they're doing. If I'm seeing something either in their submission or in class, I ask them to meet during office hours. And usually I can dissect where I lost them. There definitely are people. I don't know what people call it here, but there's I don't remember what the term is, but basically this is the class that tells people if they want to be in computer science or not.
Yeah.
So there are people who, I'm sure it's not a nice term.
No, there is a term, and I can't think of it either. It's like the X class or something like that. It's like the...
Like a gatekeeper kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's not...
Oh, is that the word?
No,
well,
but
it
has that meaning. Yeah.
You're still doing a great job, Kelly.
Thank goodness. That's why we do these podcasts, so that I can get like affirmation from as many of my colleagues as I can. So winner.
But yeah, so we do get people, especially with the level of math that's required.
Okay.
And that's usually where the problem is. And I've talked to a few groups about the troubles we have. People not understanding that computer science is different from IT. And that's usually like the management of technology and, working with users and operating it, opposed to, very much like an engineering background and coming up with different ways to store tiny bits of information. And so I don't think, I think sometimes people come in just like, I want to work with computers. Mm-hmm. There's computer science, not realizing, first semester you're going to be in calculus. And then you're going to have 3 more math classes after that.
Oh, wait. Okay. So IT, the focus is working with the users. So that's the people. So if you're an IT person, you need to know that you're working with people. But if you are a computer science person, you're working with machines.
Usually you're... yes and no. You're working in systems, but those systems are often people, but you're probably not working with many people outside of computer science, or at least the process of making a program. So we do collaborate often with, say, sometimes marketing or sales teams because they come with a feature. Sometimes it could be a web designer, a graphic designer, because you don't code images. So there is a lot of collaboration, but it's always like an internal team, not a external facing team, usually, unless you're like a freelancer or something like that.
How many computer science people end up in IT?
That's a great question. I couldn't tell you for a number of reasons. It doesn't happen as often as you think. And it's usually a personality thing. I hold the distinction of being the only person at the Bethlehem campus with a basement office. And that kind of comes with the territory. Actually, this came up before, but like even, the term hackers or even the term artificial intelligence were actually derogatory terms to early computer scientists. It was like, you're not a real intelligent being. You're just working with machines. So there is a lot of that. That I don't want to say like they're non-social. I think they get a lot of that, but it's definitely not. I think the personalities are very different.
Well, this strikes me as similar to what happens in our allied health programs, because we have a major in health sciences that students who are nursing intent or one of the other professions take. And the challenge is if they, I'm still trying to think of that word, the weeding out class, right? So anatomy and physiology is a big weeding out class for that population. And so then is there a sort of a safety net or a guidance program to direct them toward health adjacent professions? Is there something like that for the computer science student who's then going, what? Calculus and 3 more math classes? Is there kind of an off-ramp for them?
I am so glad you brought this up, because I love to drop this tidbit. Yes, we have a system. Her name is Elena. She is the greatest academic advisor. I will fight anyone to that. She comes to every single cluster meeting, sees any conflict, even like a conflict with a math class, and is like, hey, you might want to shift this class because it is possible technically for a student to be in both these classes at the same time, and I don't want any conflicts. She knows all of our programs better than any of us, and that's where they go first.
Wow.
And she is just amazing. She comes to us all the time with questions to help her advise them. So if she has a question, but I have never seen someone like so proactive and just like have it under control. So she's usually pretty great about that, but it is just, I feel like it's a lot on the workload, but I also don't know if that's the best way to onboard people, is just like talk to your academic advisor, and then we're relying on one person to sort them out. We've been trying to talk about that for a while, and it's hard too because they actually share 0 of the same classes. So if you start in IT or you start in computer science, there is no, that credit does not go over.
Wow.
Well, I guess, gen eds, but I just mean so it is, we see that as one of our big issues that we're trying to figure out right now.
That kind of does lead me to another question along those lines, which is, you've already talked about wanting to see changes in the 101 class and maybe finding a way to find the common ground between the IT and computer science, maybe for those reasons. What other things would you want to see differently in the pedagogy around computer science or in your profession?
Oh, it doesn't have to be here related, right?
Nope.
Okay. Because for a while, I'm going to be honest, it was whatever I wanted. So there's not much. You can blame me for everything that happened in computer science. So that one's hard to say. I changed things, but so this is the thing I'm most passionate about in the world. I think some of it stems from, I'll start at the basic part, which would just be, right now, the ed tech space is really bothering me. And most of it centers around this proprietary nature of getting locked into these contracts and kind of being predatory and selling lots of things. So I personally have a pretty big vendetta against proprietary things. It sounds bad. I do very heavily abide and read copyright law and all of that, but that's part of where it comes to. The Copyright Office and Patent Office were designed specifically to incentivize innovation, and I don't think that's what it's doing right now. And a lot of that comes from a shift in funds and support from the government, not just our government, but we, going back to the history, we're talking, World War II. We have a huge incubation of women and funding from the Navy and NASA. And we're just training everyone to compute and cryptology, for code breaking. And we're just investing so much money into this. And this is done primarily through academic institutions. So, we were getting a lot of funding for that, and it was done there. We have the space race, and we have ARPA, which is now called DARPA. But they were just investing in some really big ideas. Again, they started the early versions of the internet. They funded that. They had a lot to do with the creation of AI, again, in the basement of MIT in the 70s. They really did that. Their ideas were moving so fast that they actually started to try to recruit science fiction writers because they were moving so fast that the only way they could think of to plan the thing next was to have someone with, outrageous ideas. They were just we're moving so fast, we're running out of ideas.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and when was the last time, you heard that kind of funding coming to, to the academic institutions, where it's we want to support everything and we love these ideas. And some of that, we had, again, the early internet, it was called ARPANET at the time, which was only linking of 4 academic institutions. Again, big part of that. We get the NSF out of that. They take over the internet for about a decade. Well, 88 to 94, that's not a decade. But somewhere around that time frame. It's called the NSF net, then eventually, so fully funded by the NSF. That's great. And, from them we get things like the MRI. I don't think they invented Doppler, but they certainly improved it a lot. And then deep ocean exploration. These all come out of NSF at this time. But I think kind of when I went back to ed tech, some of it just came I see a lot of big technology companies coming in and taking those contracts and doing things in secret. So even going again back in computers, we have IBM. One of the biggest companies ever made, Bell Labs, not IBM. They come later as annoying people. But, they've gotten broken up. I can't even count how many times as a monopoly. But they owned the internet essentially. And they were charging major prices for access to software, a lot like what we're seeing right now. And it was just, and now we're seeing more deals with things like Oracle and Meta and Amazon. And basically people found out you could make money off of these things. And obviously less and less funding is going to academics. Personally, I tend to believe that's because there's less transparency if you don't have to go to an IRB board or be held to ethical standards. And you can just, do what you want and sell it. But I just, out of some of that, especially in the 90s, came this idea of just open, so open source. There was a student, Linus Torvalds, and he was Finnish, and he couldn't afford a copy of the Bell Labs operating system, but he was a college student, obviously wanted to learn more about computers. This dude ends up just making his own. And it's still today, it runs about 97% of the internet. It's all the servers and back-end stuff that runs it. Mac OS is built on top of it too. But there was a big push during this time of this shared knowledge and innovation that just brought about a lot of things. And a lot of it was from that early internet. So I think, my biggest thing, I don't actually know if I want the government giving us all of our money again. Funding's nice, but I don't know if, maybe I shouldn't be like that.
Well, if the strings attached to the money are worth it.
Exactly. I don't know if I want to say that, but I'd love to go back to the days of the collaboration and investing in innovation opposed to these I feel like right now we're not advancing humanity with these projects. We're advancing or raising stock prices. Whereas in like the open sharing community, we're kind of just, we're moving forward in different areas. And it just really has that spirit of innovation that and freedom and sharing of knowledge that feels, again, kind of ancient to me, that could be passed down. Whereas like, I don't know, a program from Meta, probably we're not going to, we don't know how it works now, but, in 100 years we won't. But we have records of these open things from, I don't know, thousands of years that were written down because they weren't, some of them were sealed and later uncovered. But, the idea is just this. I really wish we shared more knowledge and collaborated, even like between institutions. Like it doesn't have to be this race. I feel like the opportunity here is to advance humanity in some way, making tools for things that we can't do, not things that can replace what we can do.
I saw.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is a tangent. I saw this movie on HBO called Mountain something. Let me know if this rings a bell. Do you know what I'm talking about? You remember what it was called?
I think it might have just been called Mountain View. Mountain View,
yeah. And it's about these tech guys, and they're sort of, you can tell they're loosely based on some of our tech billionaires. But really and it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, although it was pretty funny. But it was really about inventing things just to invent things and make money, as opposed to what are the ramifications of having invented these things. And they're just constantly trying to undercut each other. And it really speaks to the moment that we're in, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and to what you're saying, because that sort of, Brave New World, that Star Trek world of like, let's share all the information in the tech and envision Brave New World.
that was always a thing I think that people liked about Star Trek, was that they weren't like, this wasn't a war. They were there for scientific discovery.
Yeah.
Like it says at the beginning of every time, like we're there to explore the world and make peace and share our technology with others. I'm not a huge Star Trek nerd, but I think that's admirable.
Well, our delightful, what did you call him? Your support being? Your anchor being.
My anchor being.
Our anchor being is letting us know that we have to, sadly, start wrapping things up. But we can't let you leave without asking about your guilty pleasure that your fellow faculty don't know about you.
So that one's hard. I don't feel guilty about. I think I'm pretty transparent in those same ways. I feel like I think you have all heard some of my guilty pleasures already in here. They're just very nerdy things. Can I alter the question?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do the like job interview one of like, what's your greatest weakness? Is that an okay one?
Interesting. And I should have prefaced that I usually do in saying no pleasure should be guilty. But yes, please take this question in whatever direction you would like.
And this probably ties in a lot with the things we're talking about, which is, I guess, it is kind of a guilty pleasure, I just really like building things, but to like a little bit of a compulsive level. I don't know if it's because I'm just like really stubborn or cheap, but like instead of like my classroom needed a doorstop. Instead of just sending an email, I went and designed one on a computer and 3D printed it, and I was like, okay, good, I took care of that. And if there's anything that I think this goes to my view of technology, where it's like, if there's something that I can do, I don't want to take that agency away from it, which I'm sure it's a control issue. Gina can decide all of that. But I think a lot of people have seen that around some tasks here too, where instead of using a flawed system, I'd rather make the thing specifically for the task that I want. Mm-hmm. I see it as a flaw. I don't know, because, to Gina's point, I don't know if I feel guilty about it. I mean, it brings me pleasure. I try to do what I think is right. Yeah. And even that brings me pleasure, so I don't know.
There should be no guilt, but, it is that's the phrase.
It's the question.
Yeah. And I see that as a strength. I was thinking about something sort of similar to that idea of just of knowing what you're doing and then doing it yourself, and how satisfying it is to at least have that understanding of what it is that you are doing or wanting or needing in the moment. And so I'm going to confess something here. I don't feel guilty about it. I have been a very late adapter to using ChatGPT in any capacity. But yesterday I was writing up a proposal and I just said, can you just please put these books into APA format for a reference page for me? Mm-hmm. And so I did, but I have been teaching psychology for 47,000 years. And so I know what APA format looks like. So then I was able to look at it and go, yeah, no, wait. And I was then able to correct it really easily. And it made me feel really good about myself because I have spent 20 plus years learning the skill of APA formatting and all the updates to APA formatting in order to partner with ChatGPT putting it together. So I don't know, that just made me feel like a lot of what you're saying, which is to know why I'm using the technology and to be conscious of the fact that I'm using the technology for a very specific purpose.
I was teaching APA format in my first semester writing class today, and I don't have very nice things to say about APA format.
Oh, what's your preferred format?
Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oof, okay.
So
when you get to break the tie, Marshall.
Yeah, when I write...
I'll be difficult. IEEE.
What?
Yeah, there's another one. It's called IEEE.
I dig it. I'm in a discipline where it's like I write in MLA format, but if I had my choice, it'd be Chicago. I think it's gorgeous.
But not Turbian, right?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Isn't that that's the one, there's a lady, that's her last name, and she decided that she should work off of Chicago style, but make it her own.
No. Oh gosh.
And people adopt it. I'm just saying it's oddly popular.
APA came first. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, wow.
So intrusive. But okay, we're not going to get there. Marshall, it has been just an absolute pleasure to just spend some time with you and to say Jeff's name.
I know.
A few dozen times. It's been just great hearing the fabulous work that you're doing. And while I know that many of our listeners don't have the pleasure to work at the same institution as you do, it just gives me the feels knowing that our students are being taught by someone like you. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, and I just love the history angle. I mean, really, I could sit here and just listen to you talk about the history of computer science for two reasons. One, you actually are really passionate and really obviously knowledgeable about it, and two, because I just think it's so important for us to have that context. So thank you.
Next time we can talk about how the Loom created that first algorithm.
Fantastic.
Let's do it. Okay, so he's already volunteering himself for
Part
chapter 2.
Yes. Pedagogy a go-go. Pedagogy go-go-go.
Well, Gina, that was delightfully awesome, but we didn't ask the question. And what was the question again?
Oh, man. The difference between computer science and information science?
Yeah.
I think Marshall kind of covered that, though. When you asked him about, is it people versus not people, right?
Oh, what did he say?
He said, it depends. So I don't know that we will ever know the answer to that question.
We won't.
But I really love how much I understand more about the context of our technological world now in with the historic context that he gave us, which I could have talked to him for another hour about. I love that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was, so like prior to our talking with him, I was saying it's like, that I was like a little nervous because like I don't get to talk with, computer science faculty all that much. And I don't know why that is, but like there's this disconnect between the humanities in that field. But after talking with him, it's like it's really refreshing, and I feel kind of like bad for not knowing this earlier, just like how immersed that field is in the humanities. Like you're saying, like I could listen to him talk for hours about this kind of stuff. And, he kind of like was hinting at maybe like a round 2 of this. I don't know how serious he was, but like I definitely have a list of questions that I would like to ask him, from a humanities perspective about like computer science and what that is meaning for our humanity. Right,
exactly. Mm-hmm. And the social structures around all of this too.
Yeah.
So very social science as well.
Mm-hmm. But that part that he ended on about, and I don't remember how he really worded it, but it was essentially like the freedom of sharing of information. He used the word proprietary, I believe it was, but I don't know, like I'm still trying to chew on that and just thinking about like how often we place these limitations on our ability to kind of like grow and adapt and be kind of just, healthy humans because of like this other desire that just seems so unnatural. Like these say something about like stocks or something like that, it's
Right, like curiosity instead of stock prices.
Yes.
Marshall said,
I don't know.
Yeah, I loved the image of him as a little guy and making his little circuit boards and building his things, and that never stopped. I mean, he really saw that as just a continuous line into what he does now. Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah. I don't know. This has definitely been like. Just a unique podcast for us, and each one is unique in its own way. But what Marshall kind of shared with us is kind of like, these conversations that I don't find us having very often. And that is, what is our relationship with technology?
Absolutely.
At least in a way that just is so like healthy and just amazing.
And engaged.
Yeah, totally. So that was awesome.
It was awesome. That's the end. That is the end of our podcast. Beep, bop, bop, bop.
Goodbye, humans. Was that awesome? Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Totally awesome.
Hey.
Thank you for listening to Pedagogy A Go-Go, recorded in the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Technology at Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Our producer in all things technology is Jeff Armstrong. If you've got any questions, please send them to pedagogyagogo@gmail.com, and be sure to follow us on social media at pedagogyagogo, and click into our bio for copies of podcast transcripts, guest assignments, and other useful tidbits. Until next time, this is Gina and Kelly saying we hope your day is filled with wonderful learning experiences.